September the 12th, 2022. As you're looking at an article this morning from Zero Hedge, it says U.S. railroads enact contingency plans, preparing for labor strike as union talks fail. We've covered this all through the summer. They had 60 days to negotiate. That didn't work. So the Fed stepped in, gave them another 60 days, 30 days to arbitrate, and then 30 days as a cooling off period. Well, that ends Thursday at midnight on the 16th. It says railroads and labor unions worked through the weekend to make a deal. There were little signs of progress, and rail companies are now taking steps Monday, that's today, to secure shipments of hazardous and security-sensitive materials in light of the possibility of a railroad strike. This is from the Association of American Railroads, or AAR. They wrote this in a statement. Now, this is all combining with the other thing that we've been talking about, is that at the end of this month, September 25th, starts Rosh Hashanah. Then you go into Yom Kippur. In those 2 weeks, the last week in September, first week in October, have always been associated with major downturns on the world economy. The stock market crash in 1929, the housing markets in 07 and 08. And going back, there's been probably 10 that all coincide with not only those two high holy days, but other factors. So it's like a plan design all coming together now to shut everything down. On Sunday, Norfolk Southern released a statement detailing it had begun enacting its contingency plans for a controlled shutdown of our network, again at 0100 hours, or 1 minute after midnight on Thursday night, Friday morning. The railroad said 2 labor unions are holding out on new contracts. We still do not have a commitment not to strike and must act accordingly, adding, our goal is to ensure that in the event of a work stoppage, crews, equipment, and freight safety reach their destinations with minimal disruption. Now, the 2 big boys, Union Pacific and CSX, also announced contingency plans for a possible work stoppage. And now, Union Pacific is pretty much the largest. They're owned by the stockholders of BlackRock. It says BNSF told customers to call Congress so lawmakers on Capitol Hill can intervene to prevent or quickly resolve the service disruption if a labor strike materializes on Friday. The railroad also said, we will begin to take steps to manage and secure the shipments of hazardous and security-sensitive materials as early as Monday. That's a repeat from the start of this. It says, rail freight networks are the arteries of the U.S. economy. And if you look at this map from the Association of American Railroads, you can see that. You've got the different lines, different colors, but look how much they tie in, especially the eastern half of the U.S. You've got major hubs coming off the West Coast ports, but then it really gets thick along the East Coast, much more population. You're getting out of the desert, and you've got a lot of ports up and down that East Coast also in the Gulf of Mexico. But, guys, if this happens, it will be a complete shutdown. Food in the grocery stores are going to become very scarce. These stores replenish their stock about every 3 days, and without these trains rolling, you're going to have some deliveries that are in the warehouses now, but things are going to start to get thin, and they're going to start to get more expensive. The railroad workers, the unions, are not happy. They said that instead of it being a great job like it used to be working with the railroad, now they are looked down upon, longer hours, less pay, rougher conditions, and they just feel like they're being used. And I'm sure that the railroad had suffered what is called quiet quitting. In other words, you don't quit, you just slow down on what you're doing, basically bringing it to a very slow crawl. Now, 2 months ago, that's when I did that second video. The Biden administration imposed this 2-month cooling off period, and it's set to expire again Thursday night at midnight. Said after that, President Biden didn't have the power to prevent a strike among 2 labor unions that had yet hammered out a deal with railroads. Only Congress can intervene after the cooling period expires. Bloomberg said the 2 unions include the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen and the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers, accounting for more than 90,000 rail employees. 10 of the other unions have already struck a deal with railroads. Association of American Railroads warned that a railroad strike could cost the U.S. economy up to $2 billion per day. While disruption wouldn't be good optics for the Biden administration ahead of the midterm elections in November, but what is the plan? Is it a complete shutdown? Is it a complete reset? But guys, again, like they said, with the midterms coming up in just a couple months here, will Congress step in for optics only and try to do something to show that they're doing something? And if they don't, who will be blamed? Which side? Well, right now, the Democrats are in control. So which side would be to blame for a railroad strike that could cripple the nation? Bloomberg intelligence analyst Lee Klaskala pointed out that the BNSF and Union Pacific account for 45% of Class 1 intermodal traffic, while CSX and Norfolk Southern has 31%. According to the government data, about 29% of all U.S. freight moves on the rails. Half the cargo is bulk commodities such as energy, food, chemicals, metals, and wood production. The other half is shipping containers of consumer goods. Even a temporary interruption would create a devastating ripple effect across U.S. supply chains. This is coming from the American Bakers Association, a Washington-based trade group representing more than 300 companies. They warned, even if there's no strike, rail networks are already clogged. Shipping line Maersk, which you see the big ships and cargo containers, recently suspended import bookings through Fort Worth, Texas, due to severe congestion in the rail yards. Railroads are preparing for possible work stoppages at the end of the week if the two unions can't formulate a deal. There's the possibility Congress could intervene before the cooling period expires. If not, then expect a flare-up and snarled supply chains. Now, it's not completely clear what Congress can do. I know they can order them back to work, but what did I mention in this video? What's called quiet quitting. Not really quitting, still getting a check, just not much work getting done. It's kind of a strike in a sense itself. But guys, we're watching this. Are you ready for your food supplies at the grocery stores to start dwindling and start seeing a rush on different things like before a hurricane? Because if this goes down, that's what you're going to see. Are you going to wait till Friday to try to get a little extra food to stock up, get other supplies you need? If you do that, you're going to be caught up in what I call a tsunami of chaos. It will be the beginning of it, but it's not going to get better. You should have already had everything you need. We've talked about it for years, and now we are at that point, guys. We're watching this. Please prepare. It's a heads up. Be safe.